Welcome, everybody, to episode 26 of the Triathlon Preview Show.
Hey, everybody.
So this week we have exciting two big races. We're going to start out with WTS Yokohama, draft legal ITU race. This will be the final qualifier for Rio Games for the Americans and a couple other countries. And then we also have the North American Ironman Championship in Texas this weekend. So we have a big enjoyment for everybody. We'll have fantasy contests for both of those. Ironman Texas is already up and running. WTS Yokohama will get going pretty soon. So look out for those. And those are part of the season-long contest, too.
Awesome.
So let's start with some little ITU draft legal stuff. So some fast and furious action there. What do we got for as far as weather and course information?
The weather looks pretty moderate, and it'll be a wetsuit legal swim. It seems the water is about, I think, 64 last time I looked. So they'll be in wetsuits. The course, I heard from Tommy Zafiris, he said that it's not as technical as Gold Coast. There's only really one turn, he said, that you have to slow down for. He thinks there's an opportunity for people to get away if they're motivated, but he also said the field is maybe weaker on the bike side of it. So he thinks there'll be two main groups out on the bike. Is just 4 2.5K loops, fairly flat as well.
Yeah, so the start list definitely has some big names, though. I mean, some people that might not be want to get away on the bike, but there's definitely some good names on the start list as far as Mola is racing. And then Alvarez and Hernandez are the 1, 2, 3 bib, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I think Tommy was referring to the women as far as that, since we were talking about Katie. So, yeah, I mean, I think the men's race is different. You got Alarza, Hernandez, and Mola, your Spanish guys. Gomez was on the list, but he's not on it anymore. So, obviously, he decided not to race.
Yeah, it's interesting. We haven't seen him yet, I think he's just focusing on Rio, and that'll be about it for him this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's swimming really fast, and you see that he did like a 1500 meter in like 15:56 or something crazy fast.
I do remember like some swimming race or something.
Yeah, like the equivalent to a Masters race in Spain, I believe. Speaking of swimming, I mean, you have your base where you're going to have Showman and Schumann from South Africa in the water, and he'll be joined by probably Ben Knut, American vying for a slot. I mean, we should probably discuss that kind of first and foremost, like what's going to happen with the Olympic slots. I mean, it's a little bit confusing, but there definitely could be nobody's a solid lock, I guess I would say, especially on the men's side with the points.
Yeah, the men's side, there's definitely two clear leaders, but anything can happen. As far as obviously the automatic qualification, it's top 3, correct? So any U.S. athlete in the top 3 will get a slot to Rio.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes down to points. And basically, this is the only race in 2016 that will add to the points of 2015. 2015 races included like Rio, Stockholm, Edmonton, and then the grand final in Chicago. So obviously, from the men's side, you have two leading guys, Billington and Mola, Joe Malloy. And then the other guys behind them are Eric, Ben, Kevin McDowell, and then Tommy Zafiris round out the top 6.
Yeah, and Tommy did tell me that he's not on the start list now, but he is on the roll down list. So if someone is sick or injured, he could roll on to the start list. But obviously his first kind of order of business in Yokohama is taking care of Katie. So, but he might end up racing, but it's all about Katie.
Yeah, so I think we can already go and tell you how one person is going to race, and that is Jared has 0 points because he didn't race any of those races last year, or he DNF'd them. So he has 0 points. That means he needs top 3 to go to Rio. meaning he'll probably
Hmm.
DNF or top three is or very close
Yep.
to it, is I would say.
Yep. And then I think the real action is probably between like Eric Lagerstrom, Ben, and Kevin. And we know that Eric didn't do Gold Coast due to IT band injury. So it's going to be, it'll we'll have to see how he's doing. Like, was he able to get his training in? I know he was swimming a lot, but how's his biking? How's his running? With the injury, he might have been limited on preparation. So, but you can still do well. I mean, Greg Billington last year, I think at the end of the year, he had a stress fracture, but then he did well at a race in Korea off basically no running. So it can.
Yeah, when I look at this list, so they only take your best three races, and as far as the men go, basically this will be everybody's third race. All the other men only have two races, so it literally comes down to this race. Um, I feel like you're definitely going to see some U.S. men make some, make some calls and just go, either early on the bike, late in the bike. But I think everybody knows where they stack up running wise, and so they have to make a move on the bike if they want the advantage on coming into the run if they're a slower runner.
So someone like Ben Canute, you're probably speaking of, like you think he'll try to get away on the bike and find some allies in that front group to work.
I would think if I was Canute or Eric, I'd be making a move off the front on the bike as fast as I can, just because I think Malloy and Billington are the better runners than those two.
Yeah, I agree. And so who could they work with on the list? Like who do you think, who's good to go on the bike? Like someone like Martin Van Riel, who we've seen off the front before. Um, Maybe one of the Australians trying to secure some last minute points. Someone like Tyler Mislechuk from Canada, who's trying to kind of get qualification for Canada. They haven't named their team. I mean,
Yeah,
who
I
do you
agree.
think?
I think those, but then also where I look, I don't think Spain has announced their third Rio spot yet, correct?
Yeah, no. I mean,
So
you'd think a Larza has it kind of locked.
you
I
would.
mean,
So
not
maybe
locked, but
Hernandez needs to make a move. And, I mean, if Hernandez wins, I think that puts him right back into the conversation. So I
right.
would think that one of those Spain guys, specifically Hernandez, would try to want to make a move to get away from Alarza. But like you mentioned, Martin Van Riel, he good biker. And then anybody else that's looking for Rio, points in their country or wants to make a name of themselves. Kyle Jones from Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I mean, maybe the French guys too. You got Connex, who's really good, and also Japanese. They're racing at home, so they're going to have a strong contingent, and they're going to be fired up too. So, I mean, this list isn't quite as deep as kind of the other lists that we've seen. Like, there's no Brownlee, no Gomez, things like. I mean, Mola's been racing every race this year, so um, no Murray, he's injured. So you're missing some big names for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think if Tommy rolls onto this list, it could make for a very very interesting USA race within itself. Just because obviously he's a front pack swimmer with Canute, possibly Eric should probably be pretty close there too. So I think it puts the pressure on Joe and Greg right off the start.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and they've been racing well, so hopefully they'll just kind of keep with that momentum. And they did great in Gold Coast and were up with the top guys, so that should give them some confidence. But they got to finish, right? Like you can't just like you've got to do well here. Because if it does come back down to that objective selection, you want to put your best foot forward in the last race because it's kind of like the last thing they see, right? You don't want to be going in being like, well, but this, that, you want to just have a great race.
Agreed. And so I think we forgot to mention something about the qualification. So there is a possibility for a selection by the USA committee. So it goes down to automatic qualification, and then the first thing after that is discretionary. So the USA can pick anybody they want, and then they go to the points. So let's say that the points have, whoever it may be. Let's just say who are the top two right here? Greg Billington and Joe Malloy, and they at the end of this race they finished the top 2 points. They could pick somebody like Tommy or Ben, um, that might be a better swimmer and biker to help pull Joe and Greg back into maybe a lead pack or something.
Right. Could they pick someone like Hunter to finish the story? This is his fifth Olympics. He's done them all. Like to get kind of, USA men's triathlon, like, because the NBC would do a feature.
The way I
Maybe
read
don't
it
know, but
is as long as there is an open spot after the automatic qualification, which means the men there definitely will be because the women there can't be. The women, if Katie wins, then there is no option.
right,
But for the men, yes, they will definitely. The second qualification says they can pick who they want, one selection, as far as I read it.
right,
So they could pick. Jared could DNF, and they could be like, "Oh, we want him."
right, right.
That's
I
the
mean
way
that
I read
that's
it.
Okay.
But that
And
you're
we're
right.
no
It's
experts.
unlikely.
Disclaimer. Yes, it's unlikely.
But
Yeah.
talking about
So
the whole race. I think Mario, he is on a tear this year.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, he's definitely the favorite. Alarza has also been top three quite a bit. So, he's still, but, and Kate was not in that top group out of the water. So he didn't have as much time to run up since it was only a sprint. So he just run his way onto the podium. So there is that. And it was a wetsuit swim, and Mola still didn't make the front group. So his swim might have been a little off there. But,
This will be a
with
wetsuit swim,
Olympic,
right?
yeah. But with Olympic points on the line, like people might be motivated in that second group to get up near the front. So
Yeah, it definitely looks.
we'll
It
just
didn't look
have
like
to.
the second group was motivated last at Cape Town.
Yeah. So I think this is different as far as because it's the last for everybody points wise, figuring out what countries have 3 slots, what countries have 2. Uh, so I
That's a good
tension.
point too about the countries getting 2 and the countries getting 3. I'm not 100% sure who's on the narrow edge, but whoever is, those countries or their representatives are probably telling their athletes, "Hey, we want you good because we need that extra spot." So that's just even more motivation too.
Yep. Yep. So I think it'll be a big race and a lot of emotion out there. And I don't even, it's so hard to pick because it is an Olympic year and you just don't know, where people are. I mean, the people who are trying to qualify are peaked. Someone like Mola, he's obviously been doing really well, but hopefully he's not peaked for this. But
Yeah.
even non-peaked, he can still win because he's a really good runner. So
All right, let's move on to the women because obviously we got some qualification there too, and but like you said earlier,
yes.
the start list is not as I think you said motivated or big name, but big biker names.
Yeah, well, that's what Tommy was saying, that the list is a little bit weaker because you don't have like Stimson, Jenkins, is Hewitt on? I don't think Hewitt is on. Oh, Hewitt's on this. So Hewitt's there, but you just don't have quite as much, with those British gals at Gold Coast. They were really, really going for it because it was pretty much, top 2 there wins, or whoever was first between those two. But you have some really good athletes. You've got Marie Robbie's been having a great year. You have it's Caroline Routier on the list. You got Oliveira, who's always in the front. I don't
Gwen,
think Routier. Well, yeah, Gwen.
do you think Gwen will
So
get
I
back
mean,
to
yeah,
winning ways this weekend?
Lisa Norton's on the list. Um, so the second pack might have some firepower. Uh, Gwen, yeah, probably. I would say so. She started doing some track workouts, so she's probably a bit faster running wise. Um,
You know who I'm
and
really interested in is Kristen Casper. She's been doing really good this year,
I too.
and I do I do not want to be Katie or Kristen right now. Obviously, Kristen, she knows that she has to finish top three. She can't get enough points to pass Katie. Um,
Right,
but Katie also can't let Kristen finish top three or she's out. So
right. And
that
and Kirsten, is it Kristen or Kirsten, whatever. She is a really solid swimmer. She's been, out like second, third the water in a lot of these WTS races. So she's up
yes,
near the front.
yes,
Um, so Katie's, like any other ITU event, like Katie's got to have a solid swim. She needs to be well positioned so she can react in that bike group and be where she needs to be so that was off the bike, like she can have a great run and do well. And yeah, basically, like Tommy told me, like Katie's just going to be focusing on Katie, like what she needs to do to have her best race. Usually have your best races, but it's so that's such a challenge in something like this where other people's races could impact, you know.
yeah, I kind of call bullshit. That's what I'm just gonna say because I feel like let's say they're both in the front pack, which they probably will be, Katie and Casper. And what if Casper makes a move on the bike? I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like
Katie's got to go.
Katie just sit there and wait and say bye, like let my Olympic spot go away? I mean, yeah, if it's one or two athletes, you know what? Okay, you let them go. But if we saw last
Yeah,
week, or not last weekend, but at Cape Town, if you let three or four athletes go, they're gone. I mean, it's over.
yeah. Or you mean Gold Coast when they left?
Yeah, I must be
Helen
Gold Coast.
Jenkins and
Yes,
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think Katie's gonna let a threat go up the road. Like someone like Renee Tomlin, like Renee would probably be behind out of the water, but what if the groups come together and then what if Renee tries to make a break with somebody? Like Katie's gonna have to react to
exactly.
that. But at the same time, like in reacting to that, I mean, Katie still has to focus on her own race. Like she's got to take care of her nutrition, all that
No,
stuff.
definitely. I mean, she has to take care of her own self, but I don't think you can let somebody else go if it's multiple US people go, and watch your dreams, go away. But you're right, anything can happen on the run too. It's a
Yeah,
10K.
no, right. And I mean, Katie ran really well in Gold Coast. She was sixth there. She had a good race after kind of a disappointing start at Abu Dhabi. So I think she's in a good place mentally, and I just think that's where you have to be starting this race. Another USA person to look out for is Summer Cook. She just won her first um, World Cup in Chengdu in China, and she's a front pack swimmer, and she stays in the front pack on the bike. I mean, she could do well. I don't know if I see a top three, but gosh, I mean, stranger things have happened, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, I'm talking about two, of the U.S. ladies, but any of them. I mean, obviously, Katie gets a slot if no USA is top three, besides
Right.
Gwen. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Any of those ladies are capable of top three. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, Renee
possible.
Tomlin. Renee Tomlin was fifth at Abu Dhabi and was kind of for a bit running down those. It was, it's pretty hot, but she's been quiet for the last month. There's been nothing. And so that tells me either one, she's injured, but I don't think that's the case, or two, she's hunkering down and getting ready for this and she's going for top three because that's what she has to be to make the team.
Exactly. So it's definitely gonna be interesting. I think the Australians still. So Ashley Gentle is still fighting for a spot.
Mm-hmm.
Densham.
And yeah, and Ashley was on the podium here last year, so she has good. This was her first WTS podium. So she kind of has good memories, and that's always good going into a race to visualize a good race that you've had on this course. So
So one thing is Gwen. So I feel like, I think she'll get back to her winning ways this race, and plus it's a 10K, um, right where Gold Coast was a 5K.
yeah.
So she has
Oh,
more
and
time.
Gwen wasn't in it. Gwen wasn't in.
Oh,
Oh
was
no,
she in?
Gold Coast. Gold Coast was a 10K. Cape Town was the
That's
sprint.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I get them all confused. Like a couple episodes ago, I said that I was talking about, oh yeah, well we got Gold Coast this weekend, but actually it was Cape Town. Like it's like but anyway. So I agree with you. I think Gwen is probably the favorite, but I mean, we didn't expect Jenkins to do what she did in Gold Coast, and I think that kind of stuff happens when you are fighting for an Olympic slot. It's like you just you can transcend yourself sometimes.
Hmm. So let's do this. Let's
Uh-oh.
instead of picking the podium, why don't we pick the female podium, and then we'll pick the 3 US males that are going to get Rio slots.
Oh, great. Okay. I'll go first with the women's podium, I guess. I'm gonna go Jorgensen. Um, Hewitt, because she's always freaking there. And um Katie. Zephyrus. Yeah, there we
So
go.
I'll go Gwen, Gentle,
Ooh, yeah, that was a good one.
and this last one. I hope Tommy doesn't listen, or Katie.
Eh, It doesn't matter if
But
she can be fourth and make the
I'm going
team.
Casper.
What? Oh, oh man.
I so I
You have a feeling.
the reason I do that is because I think it's a weak field. So I feel like
Okay.
Casper has a better shot. I feel like there's obviously one clear favorite, obviously Gwen. And
Right.
then everybody else, Hewitt's always there. She's always there, and don't get me wrong. I just think it
Yeah.
opens up more opportunities, Casper, in this field. And Katie could be fourth, but I'm gonna go bold.
Well, I was like touring between like Renee Tomlin is someone that freaks me out. Not freaks me out, but I like Katie and I know her and like I feel like she did so well last year. Like she just deserves it. But the problem is crazy shit happens in Olympic years, and sometimes like the person who you think is like gonna make it like doesn't make it, like Andy Potts in 2008, I believe it was. Jared like outran him and like randomly made it. So it's like Renee Tomlin like freaks me out because she's like so strong. Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
but I had to pick.
definitely. All right,
Okay, all right,
let's move on, and we're gonna pick the 3 males for Olympic qualification for the U.S. And then I'll go first.
okay, you go first.
All right, so I'm gonna go Joe Malloy, Eric, and Ben. I'm gonna say
Okay.
Billington gets left off, but what I will say, I'm gonna go. No, I will say if Tommy rolls on the list, I feel like he has a really, really good shot, and I could throw him to my top 3. But I don't know if he's gonna race or not. So I'll leave it at
Yeah,
Malloy,
that's a tough one
Eric, and
because
Ben.
that's like so not in your control. Like someone has to get sick or injured.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, I'm going to say Malloy, Billington, and Canute are going to make the team. There it is. All right, let's talk about Turnapalooza.
Oh yeah, hashtag Turnapalooza, baby.
So I think you should do the course preview on this one because you live there and you know it. So the weather's going to be hot. Yes.
Yeah, hot and humid. Current conditions is like 92. They say it was hot today, 91. Um,
Okay.
so it's gonna be hot. Non-wetsuit swim for the professionals, 100%. Basically, the swim is down a third of the way, back a third of the way, and then into the canal a third of the way. Uh,
Okay.
Very simple. Um, Pros have no issues really too much with the swim. Bike course? Oh yes, Turnapalooza. So the bike course this year is different, obviously. It
You
has
don't
about
say.
90 plus turns, several U-turns, several greater than 90-degree turns.
Ugh.
We oh you I think you mentioned at Yokohama that Tommy says it wasn't going to be technical. Well, this is the first time that I think an Ironman will be technical compared to the WTS race the same weekend.
Okay. And
Um,
and my question, did you see Kelly Williamson's things about two fights? Was she fighting with motorists? Was she fighting with Derek, who was saying go this way? And she's like, no, like what was
so
that
I
about?
saw her
Did you ever
tweet. I thought I saw a tweet. I didn't remember a fighting, but I saw one like missed three turns, had to pay tolls, and there's no tolls on the on the course.
So she
uh,
was off course.
so she was off course. Train tracks, stopped at a train track. Uh, 4 hours later or something, I'm back at the hotel room and I haven't finished or something. She only got like 40 miles in or something. Uh, it took us about 4 hours to ride this course, and it's 90 miles. To give you a little
You
perspective,
wrote it.
drove in a car.
Oh, you drove it.
So, like, just perspective, right? It's 90 miles, but it took us like 4 to 5 hours to drive this course. So,
Well, yeah, because it's residential and
yeah.
stuff, so the speed limits are slow.
So these are my main concerns. I've talked to a bunch of pros that are here. My main concerns about the bike course is pros like to put their head down and go and right and not worry too much about traffic or turns or they just want to focus on putting the power out or managing what they can manage on a race. They don't really want to have to worry about turns and incoming cars and things like that is my perspective. Um,
Right.
but this course you can't do that. This course
Okay.
you have to be alert, like very very alert. The volunteers, I mean, this is a 100% new course. How much of the volunteers going to know the course? Uh, how much of the athletes going to know the course? They always say know the course, but the course just came out and barely it's really hard to drive. You really have to know the area, know where the U-turns are. Um,
Right.
I also think though that the course will impact the age groupers more than professionals. I think the average speed for the professionals will be the same or faster because it's shorter. But I think the age group field could have a
Right.
real issue with it because of the grouping.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to be going in and out of turns. You're going to have to manage. I mean, we're not going to talk too much about the age group race, but yes. And I mean, I know they say know the course, but at the same time, like if you're there for 4 days before the race, like how much time are you going to have like if there's that many turns to remember a course like that? Like it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Where you're going to have a turn card on your bike? I mean, like knowing the course like in St. George, there wasn't that many turns. It was pretty easy to get. But I mean, it would take a while, I think, to
So
just you'd have to live there to know it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. There are some concerning sections like around mile 25. There was like a couple inches of sand on the road still from the floods we had. I
Mhm.
might try to get back out there late Friday, early Saturday, if possible, just to kind of see what's out there. But
Okay.
there's some concerning sections, like you said. Or you're going through residential areas, so like driveways on the roads you're riding, not like
Right.
driveway on the road and then the road off another road. Like, I mean, we're talking line blocks of houses basically. You're riding through neighborhoods. So they're obviously not going to have a person at every single mailbox saying stop. Um
Right.
I it'll be interesting, let's just say the least.
Yeah. Well, we
Uh,
won't go into it. And then the run is the same, right?
Runs the same, 3 loops, basically around the waterway, around the lake. There's a lot of cheer support. The third loop for the professionals can get kind of iffy because the age groupers get on, and around the waterway it gets congested. So it's just a little
Right.
bit of, you might have to speak up and say, "Hey, I'm coming through. Move out of the way," or
Right.
you might have to slow down a hair to get around a couple people. First, obviously, first through third has bikers, so they're pretty aware. But if you're running, from fourth or fifth, trying to run up into the top three, you don't have the advantage of a biker in front of you. So you have to be vocal. So it's just something else for the professionals to have to worry about.
Yeah. And actually, in the last few races, like Oceanside and St. George, they've been doing something different with the bikers. They have a lead biker kind of way out in front that just lets the volunteers know, like the pros are on the course, that kind of thing. But the bikers are now riding behind the, like, so if you got the first place guy like Lionel Sanders, like his biker is riding behind him, so it's not on the cyclists to show the way type
That
thing.
is very interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they've been doing that at both now at both Oceanside and St. George. Now I don't know if that was a course thing or whatever, but that's what's been going on, is that the cyclists have been riding behind the person.
Well, the run course, it's you really can't get lost. I mean, yeah, I guess the first loop there's not too many people out there, and I guess you could make a wrong turn, but basically by the second loop, there's people on the course, elite age groupers, and there's going to be people on the course. So as far as getting lost in the run course, it's pretty difficult. Um, but the bike
Yeah.
course is a completely different story. So
And it's probably pretty easy to do a lap of the bike or the run course because it's only 8 miles, so you can just preview it.
exactly, there's a bunch of people that are always running the course and getting used to that. So let's
Okay.
you want to get into the field? You want to start with the women?
Yeah. Yeah, let's start with the women. I was just looking at that. So I mean, we've lost some people. Let's update kind of who's not going to be
Okay.
there. Sarah
So
Pompiano.
Amanda Stevens is out. Rachel Jasterby is out. Mackenzie Madison is out. That's all I know of right now. Do you have anybody else?
Nope, that's all I know of. Yep. Um,
So
well,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go.
My initial impression, and I've told some female pros this, that it's weak. It's a weak championship field. As far as I feel, my personal opinion, and I think that opens up a lot of opportunities. Um, for some pros to get some really good points and have an opportunity to make a early season run at Kona.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I, I mean, you have Julia Gare, who's she's been top three podium at Frankfurt, so she's definitely dangerous. I mean, Kelly Williamson has been under 9 hours on this course, so you can't discount her. Don't know kind of where she is mentally and physically. I know she's had some, I think, a run injury, so we'll have to see, but she has some good memories on this course, so that's good. The bike course is shorter, which is to her advantage. She'll have less time to kind of lose time to someone like Julia Gare or Alicia Kay or someone like that. But I think, like, first let's just talk about the swim. I mean, I think you're going to have like Lauren Brandon out in front, and then Katie Blakemore and Alicia Kay maybe together, then kind of a bigger, chase pack. I mean, Corey Christick is a good swimmer. So what do you see, like, dynamics wise going on?
Dynamics wise, the way I see Lauren Brandon race is obviously leading off the swim, and I feel like she can get a good lead off of this group. Just because there's not like a lot of girls that are gonna be close. So once she gets an advantage, I mean, she's gone, in which obviously she will be gone, but those other girls won't have like 5 or 6 or 7, in that pack. It's going to be, like you said, maybe Kay and Blake.
Blakemore.
So there's two. So those two are going to fall back, I think, a little more. And then I think the bike course could help Lauren Brandon. It's hard to see how far people are ahead on this course. So if she could really get out and go, she could get a nice advantage.
Yeah, and also with all those turns, like there's no real straightaways. So, if someone's 30 seconds ahead of you, I mean, they could be already around a turn and you're not going to see them. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind type thing, maybe.
Exactly. Yep, agreed. There are some good sections, no doubt, but the worst is the first like 15 miles. So the beginning 15 miles
Okay.
is going to be very turny and stuff. You know,
Speaking of tourney, I mean, Alicia Kay is a really good cyclist, bike handler, so she might be able to make up some time that way.
yeah, definitely, especially cuz she's a good swimmer. I mean, when I first looked at the course, I would say that a you're going to have an advantage if you're a good swimmer and a good runner. Because I don't think you're going to be able to lose too much time on this bike course. But also, if you have good handling ability, it definitely helps. And you talk about handling, Lisa Roberts, um, she races cycling races all the time in the off season.
Yep.
So this
Yep.
could, she's not a great swimmer, but
No.
she might be able to make up some time with some bike handling, and then obviously her good run.
Yeah, 90 turns and say you gain 3 seconds on turns, like you're talking about 270 seconds, which is more than, 4 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
agreed.
I mean, that's not nothing. And you're losing those 18 miles. Like someone like Lisa Roberts or Jody Robertson, like they need those last 18 miles to make up even more time from the swim. Like that's kind of where people start to fall apart even more. So if you're strong through that, but they're losing that, right? So I'm wondering if people are going to pace it. They're going to think, oh, I only got 94. Like, are they going to just kind of like do their regular Ironman you know, pace. I
I
mean,
mean, I would say most of them are probably going to pick up the pace a little bit. The thing that Lisa Roberts, you talk about, she needs the more bike miles. I also think she's used to slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. I mean, the crits, cycling crits, that's all what it's all about, basically, speeding up, slowing down, and stuff like that. Um, Road races and stuff. So she might have an advantage from that aspect too.
yeah, I just, people like, and Jess Jones is a pretty good cyclist as well. I mean, she's been doing this for a while. She started in ITU. I didn't do that for too long, but she's done it. So she can kind of get back in that mindset. I mean, that might be good. And um, you know, like you got Emma Kate Lidberry. She's a pretty good cyclist. I, and she'll be out of the water, pretty near the front. So I don't know. It's so hard to say. You just don't know. I mean, we've had a couple crashes, like Jeff Simons and Kirsty John have crashed. I mean, you worry, are people going to be too hot on a couple of the corners and skid out? Especially once they get tired and overheated.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I think those crashes were kind of not,
Random.
yeah, random events, but it's still, uh, it takes in consideration, were they thinking about turning, or were they practicing turning? I know Jeff wasn't. I'm not sure what Christy, what she was doing, but it's still, it's interesting to say. I think there's only a couple athletes that are going for the win here as far as the females, between Kelly, Julia. I think Lisa Roberts is in there for the win, just with her bike and
Yeah.
running ability. Um, but
Especially she's had some great like Panama, like just running through the field,
yeah,
for second. And I mean, she did that at France and almost won last year. So she's experienced for sure. It's just that deficit out of the water and having like 18 miles less on the bike to make some inroads.
yeah. To give a little information on that swim, there's a couple athletes that have been doing some hundreds, with a group I swim with, and there's definitely some athletes that I see need to pick up the pace in the swim. You kind of see where they stack up, when they're doing some long hundreds, with the other athletes, and Lisa's down there as far as I can tell right now.
Yeah, I mean her swimming, I mean she's, 34 minutes or so on a half Ironman swim. Like she's going to be around an hour and 10 minutes. Like, and someone like Alicia Kay is probably going to be low 50s. So that's a lot of road to make up. I mean, this is Alicia's first Ironman, so if she screws up her nutrition, that can be on. You usually see those mistakes kind of the last 15 Ks or so.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
mentioned those three girls that I think are in the contention for the win between Kelly, Julia, and Lisa. I don't think there's actually. I think there's only a couple girls that can, get onto the podium. Besides that, I mean, I think there's a lot of no names per se here, and I think any of them could have the possibility though of jumping up.
yeah, I mean, I agree. I think someone there'll be someone in the top five who you quote unquote don't expect, but you should maybe expect, like Jody Robertson. I mean, she can bike. I mean, she's outbiked Sarah Haskins by 3 or 4 minutes at Texas and ran a 120. Like, if she nails her nutrition and her pacing, like, she's going to be moving up during the marathon. And you live there, like the heat is going to get some people for sure. I mean, we haven't talked about Bree Wee. I mean, she's used to the heat. Bike handling, I don't know. So it's hard to pick. I mean, Kirsty, like, she broke her elbow. She's got that hairline fracture. How's that going to affect her? Is it going to get really uncomfortable to be an arrow by the end of those 94 miles? Just don't know. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to be picking, but I think there'll be a few surprises for sure, as there always are.
Yeah, there's definitely gonna be surprises. The heat is just gonna come on like nothing else, especially if you're not acclimated.
Yeah. And I mean, Kelly Williamson, like, even though she's had a run injury a little bit, she's a natural runner. So I don't think it'll like someone else who's had a run injury. She's just got so much base behind her. I think more is like, how much does she want it type thing. She's been racing a long time, and sometimes I wonder, is she kind of mentally starting to be done. I guess we'll see. I mean, she surprised me a couple of years ago, so anything can happen.
The one thing I will say about Julia is, I was reading Thorsten's blog, and he said that Julia would be completely content, with top five or top three, just basically solidifying her Kona slot, and that's about it. So you have to wonder if she is really focused 100% to win the race, or if she's just looking for a good performance to get by.
Right, and especially in that heat, you might be more conservative because you want to make sure that you don't blow up. Whereas if you're going for the win, you might take a few more risks and be like, "Oh, see what happens." So, and someone like Alicia Kay is super diligent about things. I mean, like I told you, she takes notes in the pro meetings. I think it's great. She'll be taking a lot of notes on this bike course, but she's someone who might be diligent and in her first Ironman, like, not be ready to take too many risks because she just doesn't know like what can happen. I mean, I hope she's a little bit scared because I think that would help her have a better race. Because it's better to just have a better back half of the marathon than like go out like a bat out of hell on the
Yeah,
bike.
agreed. I mean, especially here because it's going to get hot. I think you need to minimize the damage until the second loop of the run, and then the second and the third loop of the run is where you make your move and you go.
Yeah, and someone like Kate Lidbury, I think she sometimes has a tendency to have some nutrition problems. So I don't know. In Mexico at the end of last year, she was doing really well, and then kind of fell apart that last bit of the run. So she's going to have need to have solved those issues to kind of be up there, or she's going to slide off that last 8 on the run.
So I'll go on and give you my scenario. I think what's going to happen, and you can do it or you can give your scenario or not. But I think Kelly Williamson's going to win, and I think Lisa Roberts is going to come second. But I think it's going to be a really close race. I think Lisa Roberts is going to be trying to run down Kelly until basically the last mile. I think it's going to be a close finish.
Ooh, interesting. Um, I could see that. I think if Jess Jones Myers has a strong race, she could be in the top 6. And I think Jody Robertson might, but she might not finish as high as she would have if the course wasn't 94 miles. Like I think Alicia Kay is going to struggle a little bit on the marathon, but she'll probably still hang in there for top 8 somewhere. And if she doesn't struggle, she could be top 3, which is what I know she wants to qualify for Kona.
I think we'll see a new run course record uh, on Saturday. I think a combination of the shorter bike and some really good runners in the field. Um, I think we're going to see a run course record for the women.
All right. All right. Well, let's talk about the men. I think Matt Hansen will win.
Oh, all right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll
Yeah.
talk to you next week. No, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously Matt Hansen's carrying the number 1 bib, defending champion. Um, I think the course suits him well. Um,
Yes. And I think he had a great race in New Zealand. And I think he was aiming to have a good race there, a solid race, but I don't think he was peaked for that race. And he still was really, really good. So I think he'll take it. And I just, like someone like Terenzo Bozzone has not proved to me that he can run a good marathon in an Ironman. And I think the heat will call him out and it will be a struggle.
So somebody I'm interested
And
to
I,
see is Justin Dare. He didn't race last year, but I look back at his results here. First year of the race, he finished 7th. Second year of the race, he finished 2nd, and then 4th, and then 3rd, and then didn't start last year. I mean, that's 3 top 5s, 2 podiums. He likes it here. He races well in Texas.
yep. And that, yeah, I think that's a big thing. We think Andrew Starkowitz will be first off the bike.
Um, uh, yes. Can I bet the house?
And then what do you think's going to happen on the run? He didn't run too badly in Galveston, or I'm sorry, New Orleans or
Yeah,
Galveston.
yeah, he's been running better and better every time. I think I did a little comparison actually on the TRS forums about his run between Miami and New Orleans. And there actually was one common athlete between most of those races, and it was Thomas Gerlach. Um, and you could see how much better Andrew is getting. Now, let's say Thomas was running consistent or about the same, not fading or anything. Andrew has passed Thomas on I think the last race or something. It was just interesting to see those two athletes raced a lot. And I think his run's coming a long way. It'll just depend, can he get enough lead on this bike? Does he like a bike that is turny and not just put his head down and take the power?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but he's definitely a good cyclist, so I think he'll still be in the lead. I mean, Callum Millward's on the list. He was second last year at Coeur d'Alene, where it was hot as heck, and he had a great race in New Zealand. So I think he's someone to look out for. Um, Jeff Simons will be on my list. I'm just worried about his arm.
Yeah, so a little update on his arm is he obviously hurt it. It had a fracture or something. And then he can bend his elbow, but he can't rotate his arm still. It's in a lot of pain. The doctors told him he will not cause more damage. It's just a determination of how much pain he's willing to go through. Um, I'll actually go on and say it. I think a bold prediction is he either doesn't start or he pulls it off in the swim. I just don't think it's smart. He's got some
or
decent
he
points.
pulls out, you mean?
Yeah, he pulls out in the swim. He just maybe hits it wrong or just feels like he can't pull right or swim right. So I'm either thinking he doesn't start DNS or he pulls out in the swim. I don't even think he'll finish the swim. Um, I just think it's not worth it for him. He's got some good points. Go down to Brazil or throw his name on the list in Canes or something besides here.
Right. The thing is, though, is that man, he gets ugly, right? I mean, he finished Kona. I mean, it was Kona. It's the last race of the year, but he finished that with one leg for a bit, and still had like one of the fastest marathons. So I just see him as being like, if I can just get through this swim, it's just an hour, then I'll be fine, you know?
No doubt. I mean, you're right. An hour of pain, but then bike handling. So he can
Yeah,
bend
that's
his
true.
arm, but he can't rotate still as far as Monday, Tuesday. So
Right.
that's just my opinion. I don't think he'll finish the swim, is from what from what I think, but he definitely could.
Yeah.
Um, Matt Russell's
I
interesting, man.
mean,
He's been running pretty well.
yep. He had a good New Zealand, and yeah, I mean, he just doesn't have as much road to catch up on the bike because he's going to be a little bit behind. You also have Nils Frommhold, who's going to be out in front after the swim. I don't think he has the firepower to go with Starkey, but he might try
Yeah, I
for a
mean,
little
you're
bit.
gonna have some people in that front group. Barrett Brandon's racing.
Yep.
He's a pretty good swimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Another person that's further down
Yes.
on the start list that seems to do good here is Jeremy Jer.
Jerk,
Yeah,
Jerkowitz.
yeah, from France. He always seems to have a decent race here. Actually, I mean, top five
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. I mean, what about that Stephen Killshaw? Didn't he have a solid race somewhere last year, like a podium
Yeah, he's doing pretty good. He
somewhere?
was actually swimming with the group I swim with too, and he was swimming pretty good. He was actually I think his coach was watching or something, and he was swimming better than he usually does. So um he should be out fairly good. Harry, what's his last name? Wiltshire.
Wiltshire.
I'm interested in seeing him.
He's kind of, oh, you got Eric Linkman on this list too. So he's going to be up in front out of the swim too. So there's going to be a good group. Yeah, Harry Wiltshire, he'll be out. He kind of strikes me as a guy who just is like turn and burn. Like it's either going to go really well or it's not going to go well. Like he'll be out in front and then he'll blow up or he'll do well.
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be a big swim pack for this race as compared to the women's, where I think it'll be trickle in. I think there's gonna be a big swim pack
Yeah.
from the men. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see how
And
that.
then Starkey will blow that apart.
I'm thinking that's his card. I mean, we have I think he has 2 sub 2 hours already, maybe 3 sub 2 hours this year already.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna blow it up on the run. I mean, no, he's going to kill the bike, and we'll see where his run lasts him. He held on in New Orleans and had a good race. So
Yeah. I mean, the other person who's done well here before is Jordan Rapp. He's won and been on the podium, I believe. Right?
he won in
Correct.
2012. So he was.
Right. And I mean, he's had, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah,
In non.
he's had some good races here. But he DNF'd last year, didn't finish the bike.
Yeah. And he turned it around and had that great race at Mont Tremblant in August. So he's still got it. It's just whether he's got it this weekend.
Yeah, agreed. Um, the women's
So
field is very confusing for me. Just I don't know why. I really don't. I just don't see a clear favorite, I guess, either.
yeah, I mean, if you look at Matt Hansen, the way he runs, he's definitely on my shorts, I would say. And you got Mikey Weiss too, who did really well at Cozumel at the end of the year. Like where is he at? I think was he on the podium in Galveston too this year?
So he came off the bike in third. I think he fell off the
Yeah,
podium, but I can't remember actually.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I I think the men's field is a little bit stronger than the women's. Um, But and you got Kirill Costagrove who won Chattanooga. Like you just don't know where he's going to be at in this type of field. Um, yeah, I don't know. Uh,
Another
I don't know.
person is where is he?
You're going to have some blowups for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. There'll definitely be some blow ups. Oh man, I can't
Like
remember
in
who.
Echo Llanos, he did pretty well in Oceanside. He's someone to look out for.
Yeah, he's actually he won this race the first year it was Ironman Texas. So
Oh well, there you
he's
go.
defending European champion. He hasn't been back since, so he's never been beaten here, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, so he's undefeated on the course. Perfect. Um, I, I don't know. Should we try to pick a podium?
Um, I'll go with I'm gonna go with Matt Hansen for the win. I just feel like he always has a good race here. And then I'm gonna go with Andrew Starkowitz for second place. I feel like Matt's just gonna run him down, but I feel like Starkowitz will have a good race. And then I'm gonna go finishing off the podium. The last spot will be I'm gonna go Callum.
Yeah, I was leaning towards that too. I'm going to say Hansen, Janos, Callum, and I think that Starkey will be in the top 5, but I think he's a bigger bodied guy, and I think the heat will get him those last 6 miles. And he doesn't have quite as long on the bike to light it up.
Oh, he can light it
But
up
he'll
on the
have,
bike in 10 miles.
well, I know he'll have enough time, but I think he won't have, I think he'll have a lot of time, but I don't think it'll be enough to
Yeah.
hold, to hold everybody off. So I just think the heat is tough at the end of the day.
No, definitely agreed. So, we've been talking to a couple people, and we're gonna have some bonus content at the end of this episode. So, stay tuned. We can have some Yokohama possibly, and some Ironman Texas bonus content for everybody if you stay and keep on listening.
All right. Hopefully we're not too wrong this week.
Yeah, actually, let's go over last week real fast. Then we picked the men's and women's field for 70.3 St. George. The men were Sanders, Kinley, and Gambles were the 3. And
Yep.
I had Sanders, Raylert, and Kinley, so 2 of the 3 on the podium. My dark horse was Cody Beals on the podium, but he didn't get the podium. But he had the second best run, I'm pretty sure, so that's pretty good. And then you had
Yeah, and he was
Raylert.
7th.
Yeah, 7th, so that's not bad. You had Raylert, Sanders, and Tim O'Donnell with Trevor Wortell as your dark horse, and obviously you had Sanders on the podium, and Trevor
Yeah.
Wortell did pretty good too.
Yep, 6th. And then Raylert and O'Donnell were kind of top 10, but Raylert had an uncharacteristically slow run. So, and Tim was just kind of steady throughout the day. And then let's see, women, it was Wortell, Lawrence, and Kessler. And you had Wortell, Tesser, and Jackson. And then I had Wortell, Jackson, and Kessler. And had Jackson on the podium, and she had a real tough day. I don't know, breathing issues or something. So she did not finish. And then your dark horse was Lindsay Corbin, who pulled out with hypothermia. And then my dark horse was Ellie Salthouse, who actually ended up 5th. So that was a good call.
Yeah, so not a terrible week for us picking. I mean, we
No.
both had the winner in the women race, and I had the winner in the men's race, and then you had some good dark horse picks and podiums. So not too bad.
Yeah. And I mean, you say like, I mean, Tesser was 4th. So she was right there.
Yeah, she was right there.
So, yep. All right. So stay tuned if you want to listen to some bonus content.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.